What's up guys, Game Leader 1, 2 and 2 here, and today I got another list for you. It's the top 13 worst fusions in the game. Alright, so I want to preface this with, I didn't pick anything that's an instant fusion target because I figured that would probably make them inherently useful, even though Norden's obviously the instant fusion target. I mean, but you only have one, and you have 3 instant fusions, so you could, in theory, put like some level 5s or 4s or 3s into your extra deck that you can go into and make other XYZs with, or maybe synchros or something. So anything less than level 5 is probably inherently useful unless otherwise stated. So anyway, well, let's get started. Alright, first up we have Shaddoll Wendigo. Now, this one is number 13 by a mile. It's probably the best fusion on the list as far as effect is concerned, if only because it's an Shaddoll, which means that it kind of recycles itself when it dies. It gets the fusion spell back, and, you know, because it's made of Shaddolls, they all do stuff and hit the grave, so okay. But its individual effect to make one monster immune to battle is just dumb. Like, when compared to the other Shaddolls. You know, like Construct auto kills, and Winda is like a floodgate, and Shakanaga negates monster effects. Like, all those are really good. Like, even Gristia and the water one are pretty decent. But this is by far the worst one, and when compared to all of its buddies that are all just very good fusions, it makes this one look a lot worse. So I pretty much had to include it, because any Shaddoll player will tell you this thing sucks. Worm Zero. Okay, I'm going to preface this one with, I didn't play during the format that this thing was new, and I played until like the end of the original series. I never played during GX or 5Ds, and then I came back into the game when I was much older, when XYZs first started. So this thing is, I guess you could say it's before my time, but that's, I guess, not completely correct. But anyway, although despite that, I have a hard time believing this thing was ever particularly good. Okay, what does it do? Basically, you make this thing out of a bunch of worms, and for every worm you fusion someone with this thing, it gets 500 attack, which means you have to dump like your whole hand or every monster on your field just so this thing has a decent 2500. Like, so that's already pretty lousy, but depending on how many you make it with, it does gain effects. Alright, well, with 2 or more, you basically can once per turn special summon a reptile from your grave face down. I think most of the worms, if my memory serves me, are flip effects, so that makes some sense. Okay, fine. That lets you get back 1 card you lost. 4 or more is interesting. You can banish 1 from your grave and send 1 card from the field to the graveyard. Okay, and if you made this thing with like 4 reptiles, that seems to be pretty decent, because it doesn't say once per turn, so I think you can just keep doing it, kind of like Dark Arm Dragon. And then 6 or more, you get to draw a card. So again, you can try to kind of replace some of the advantage you lost. But even still, after all that, I don't think the card's really worth it. It has no inherent protection, it won't be very strong, and sure, you can send all your opponent's stuff to the graveyard, but that effect is just so power creeped right now. I just don't think it's a very good card. Elemental Hero Tempest. Okay, I want to say, I'm sorry if one of your hero fusions is on the list. I know, heroes are a very popular archetype, and personally, I like them. I like the masked heroes. I think Dark Law is cool. So, it's really a shame to put any of them on the list, because they're all kind of neat in their own way, but Tempest sucks. Let's be real. He's made of 3 very specific heroes. You can't just make it out of any hero. You gotta make them out of 3 specific ones. Avian, Sparkman, and Bubbleman. Which, having Avian and Sparkman already makes this really annoying because those 2 aren't very good. It's specific, which means it's awkward to set up. Sure, heroes have tons of search power, and Miracle Fusion's a good card. But even still, it's just weird. And for what? A Wendigo effect? We already discussed why Wendigo is bad. In a sea of good Shaddoll fusions, Wendigo is just by far the worst, which makes it look even more terrible than it is, and he has the exact same effect, so boo, this thing is awkward to summon out of 3 parts, not just 2, and its effect is lackluster, so it's bad. Elemental Hero Wild Wingman, another really crappy hero fusion. Whoa boy, he's a little easier to summon. He uses Wild Heart and Avian as opposed to 3 monsters, but even still, those are 2 bad hero cards, and his effect is to discard a card to knock a spell or trap off the field. Oh, who cares? This is going to be a running theme with some of these fusions. They're all a terrible waste of card advantage. If his effect was kill 2, he might be okay, but he's awkward to summon, you gotta spend 3 cards to make him, and then you gotta ditch another one to use his effect. Whoopity-doo, I hope it's worth it. You could also say that maybe he's a little better, because his effect's a little more relevant than the last one, but his stat line's a hell of a lot worse, so he's not even a beat stick. Gatling Dragon. Now, I want to say I like Gatling Dragon, but his effect is trash. Basically, you make him out of Blowback Dragon and Barrel Dragon, and his stats are like the same thing as Barrel Dragon, so he's not even an improvement on that front. The only thing that changes is that his effect gets a little better. For every heads you flip out of 3 coins, you get to pop a card, monsters. But that's only marginally better than Barrel Dragon. Barrel Dragon, you had to get, I think, a majority heads to even do anything. This one gets at least for every head you do something. But that means you could put all this resources into making him and flip 3 tails, potentially, and just do nothing. Sure, you can bring him out with Cyber Dragon Nova, but that's what Barbaroid's for, or any of the Chimera techs, or anything else. Oh great, another hero. This time it's evil hero Gaia Drake. Okay, what does he do? Well, okay, he gets the stats of whatever you make him with combined, so that's okay, but you gotta make him with a fiend and a rock. That's really weird. I think most of the evil heroes are fiends, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm no expert on this era, but the rock is awkward, so that means you're playing some weird deck. I don't know, I don't think you're ever gonna be able to make this thing particularly easy, and even if you do, you'd have to make him out of some pretty unsummonable monsters just to make his stat line halfway decent, summoning from the hand, that is. And his effect is when he attacks, he changes all monsters to attack position. What, to do some battle damage? Humanoid Worm Drake. Ooh, the first of the vanillas. Oh, I can just feel the crappiness all over me. Holy crap, this thing's a level 7, water, aqua, so okay, that's not so bad. There's tons of support for 7s, waters, and aquas, but its stat line looks like something that'd be level 5, not level 7. It has no effect, it's made out of 2 terrible monsters. I have no idea why you would ever play this thing. It wouldn't be a fusion list without a masked hero, and the masked heroes are all pretty decent. I would have to say Dark Law is probably the best, with Acid a really short second. I mean, those two are just really good. Coca can be great in the right circumstance. I think the Fire one's decent, if I remember correctly. I haven't seen that one played a lot. But yeah, they're all pretty good, right? Except this one. He can't be killed by card effects, but he has like 2400 attack, which means he's gonna get run over by like anything. So you don't have to worry about that anti-Regeki effect. You're just going to get slammed over. And he's the water one, so that means you're making this instead of acid, which just doesn't make much sense. Why would you do that? Acid's so much better. Just inherently stronger in battle, which this thing's weak to anyway. And your opponent probably has spells and traps on the field, so I don't see why acid would almost ever be the worst option. Whoopie-doo-doo, another vanilla, Skelgon. Ugh, God, this thing is terrible. It's made out of bad materials, it's like every vanilla, and its stat line's atrocious. What is that? What is this, a level 6? So you can't even instant fusion the thing, and it's made of 2 bad zombies, so you would never even use this. Even back in the day when it came out, you wouldn't use this card. Its stat line's atrocious, and sure, it's level 6, so it combos with Plague Spreader, I guess, to make 8 synchros, but Mally does a better job, and this thing is impossible to summon. No. Metal Dragon! Okay, this thing is bad too. You could flip these two guys. It's really hard to say which one's worse. His stat line's a little better, but the other one's a zombie, so there's, you could always Mizuki it back or something, so you could do something with it. This is a machine, so there's decent support there too. But it's a wind, and it's a 6, and it's just, and it's made of bad monsters. Super Roboyarou and Super Robolady. Woohoo! Okay, basically they have terrible stat lines, and their effects are you can once per turn summon the other one from the extra deck. Oh, and then during battle they get an extra 1000 attack turn damage calc. That's kind of cool, I guess. There's some limiter removal combo there somewhere. But what I don't get is the first effect. why are you swapping them? I don't get that. Like, back in the day when I first saw these as a little tiny kid when they first came out, I thought they were cool because they were fusions that had effects, and that didn't really exist at the time yet. So this was like, I was like, whoa, because, you know, all the other fusions we had were like Metal Dragon, so they were just bad beat sticks. These things do something during damage calc, and 22 is okay, I guess. It's still not great, and even back then it wasn't anything. But it's that first effect that's kind of confounding. Why would you want to do that? If it was a quick effect, it'd be great, because you'd be like, boom, 2K, and swap out, boom, 2K. It'd be like kind of like Cosmos, but like way ancient. But these are just, no, it's not a quick effect. The only thing I think of is, I guess you wouldn't die from limiter removal, right? You do this to main phase 2? I don't know, it's just stupid. Mokey King! Wow, this thing's so OP! Woo! It doesn't do anything, it's got a freaking 3 digits for both its attack and defense, and when it leaves the field, it summons 3 Mokeys. But it's made of 3 Mokeys. So you have to, it's not just like Mokey monsters, I don't even think that exists. I think Mokey is the only Mokey monster, except this Mokey monster. So basically, you have to have 3 copies of a one-off monster in your hand. I'm pretty sure Mokey's a vanilla, so it's weird to make. Like, it's like Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Like, you're almost never going to be able to make that stupid thing, because you have to have 3 Blue Eyes in your hand or on the field. That's weird. In what? I guess you could synchro with it, and then they would come back, and you could synchro with those if you had like a recursive tuner, maybe? I feel like there's a million better ways to accomplish that exact same goal, and you don't have to play something as stupid as Mokey King. Number 1 is Sanwitch. Now this one's kind of a cop-out because she's a crappy vanilla, and she's level 6, so you can't instant fusion her, so that's good. That makes her bad, right? But she's stat line's a little better than the other 2, so that's the thing. But no, she's made of 2 banned cards, Skelgon and Witch of the Black Forest. You can't make this thing except with Summoner of Illusions, and there's a million other better targets than this thing. This thing is bad. To be fair, by not as much virtue of its own. It's more by association, by being made of 2 banned cards. It's kind of like Griffin Wing, where Griffin Wing's okay, just you can't use it because it's the card it counters is banned, so it's kind of a stupid card. But in theory, if Skelgon and Witch of the Black Forest weren't banned, and you summon them to the side of the field, and you played polymerization, you get 2 searches. So that's kind of cool. That'd be pretty decent. It would replace itself almost immediately. But you can't even play it. So I think by default, it is the worst fusion in the game. If not one of the worst cards in the game, because it's just so useless. Alright guys, that was the list. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it didn't piss you off too much, because all your favorite fusions were on the list. But you gotta admit, come on, they're bad. But anyway, let me know in the comments below what fusions you love to hate, and let's talk about the video quality. I'm using my new LG G5, and apparently it's recording in UHD right now. It's recording in UA. It's recording in... I've been playing so much bad Yu-Gi-Oh! Apparently it records in full 4K. I don't know if that's true. It doesn't have to do it in 5-minute snippets, so I'm constantly running back and forth with the camera. But hopefully it looks a little better, and hopefully green screen's a little better, because it's going to be really nice and crisp. It's probably just going to make the video take a million years to render and a million years to upload. But anyway, let me know in the comments below if you even notice a quality difference. I'm curious to know, because the camera I was using is crappy. And remember guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys next time. Well, I wouldn't. As XYZ material, you can just, without detaching, make them lose 1,000 attack power, and then if they don't have monsters, they take 1,000 burn damage instead. But at 3,500, this thing's essentially invisible. Konami, stop making these monsters. Towers, Magnus, this thing. Oh, and P.S. quick announcement. I will be moving down to New York to be with Caitlin. Woo! woo, finally, we're gonna live together. This is cool. And it's finally, because we used to live together before when she lived up here, and now I'm gonna finally move back down there, so I'm gonna be with her. So that whole thing is a big rigmarole. But there may be a lull in my videos for a week or two because we got to do moving and unpacking and figure out where I'm gonna even do any of this filming stuff. So if you don't hear from me for a little while, that's why. Nothing's wrong. I'm not dead. Hopefully.